Hi everyone, my name is Ricky, and today, I together with my co-presenter, we will discuss Unit 2, which is all about teaching strategies. Alright, so you might be wondering what we will learn from this particular session. So in this session, you will be able to learn the integrated teaching or the 3-level strategy, and at the same time, you will be able to learn the integrated teaching, learning styles, multiple intelligence-based instructional strategies. Alright, and at the end of this session, you will be able to identify and differentiate the 3-level strategies. You'll be able to enumerate 8 multiple intelligence, and at the same time, you will be able to understand 4 learning styles introduced by Silver and Hanson. Alright, let's move forward with the discussion of integrated teaching in Chapter 1, which is all about 3-level strategy. Alright, so success in the teaching learning process is always attributed to the creativity demonstrated by teacher in his or her classroom. Why? It is because the teacher who has to choose and design the strategies that suit the kind of areas that are present in his or her classroom, and at the same time, considering their individual differences or what we call diversity of learners. And this is all to make every learning episodes more relevant and meaningful and beneficial to both the teacher and the students. And of course, in doing all this, the teacher has to do or has to exert a lot of effort. And as I mentioned earlier, there is what we call diversity of learners. So the diversity of learners actually refers to the various differences of learning in terms of learning modes, learning styles, preferences, and the way they think, or their cognitive style. Now, the teacher might find this process really consuming, like it might be patience consuming or time consuming. But there is something that he or she needs to remember in order to make this way easier, and that is this student learn the best when the teacher uses their strength and capitalize on their multiple intelligence and their preferences of learning styles in designing their instructional plans. And now, this actually leads to the teachers to use broad range of strategies, and this is where ITS or integrated teaching strategies comes in the picture. Now, you might ask, what is ITS or integrated teaching strategies? It actually a well-organized strategies anchored in real-life situations that includes learners' interests and needs in creating a variety of meaningful activities and learning experience. And one characteristic of an effective teaching strategy is that it actually an integrated. When we talk about integrated, it actually comes from a Latin word with integer, which means whole. And an integrated strategy will put together the parts of a whole in order to arrive at a holistic, remember, holistic, complete, and more accurate view of reality. Alright, in an integrated teaching strategy, the lesson and real-life situation could be included. It could also include the lesson and the meaningful activities, the lesson and the lesson from other subjects, and the lesson and their intelligences and learning styles. It actually paves the way connecting what is learned in school to real-life world rather than isolated fact and information. But you might ask, what if we just study just a part of the reality, like when we put the wall to shut science from math, language from values, music from civics? This is what we do to teach subjects in isolation from one another. This is what we call fragmented teaching. But in an integrated teaching strategy, there is an interconnectedness of learning areas. We teach values, health, grammar, and math, and we teach science. We also teach values and math when we teach grammar. After all, these subjects are parcels and part of life, which is actually the true meaning of the curriculum. This integrated strategy is interdisciplinary in nature, and an integrated teaching strategy is permitted by the multiple intelligence, the varied learning styles, and the daily experience of the learners.
Now let's move forward with the discussion of the 3-level strategy. Actually, the 3-level strategy was popularized by the advocates of value clarification like Charles Miller. And the proponent of this integrated teaching strategy actually asserts that the teaching learning process should touch the three levels. And what are those levels? Number one, we have the facts level. Number two, we have the concept levels. And number three, we have the values level. Well, on the facts level, actually the students learn isolated facts, and it actually based from their observations on the reality. And on the concept level, the facts are then reviewed and organized into concepts. And on the values level, the knowledge acquired are related to the student's life. And to understand more about these, let's try to analyze and integrate this three-level strategy into making a lesson for a particular learners. Alright, so here is a lesson in science where it is developed with the use of the three-level strategy of an integrated teaching strategy. So say for example, we have the lesson plan in water pollution, and the objective was to trace the remote and the immediate causes of water pollution, to describe the effects of water pollution, to propose solutions to the problems on water pollution, and to launch an anti-pollution drive to the polluted river in the locality. And of course, the subject for this particular lesson plan would be the water pollution. And the materials that could be used for this particular lesson would be a picture on or a film on polluted rivers, probably, and a field trip to a polluted river. Now let's go on to the procedure. Let's try to connect this into the facts level. As I mentioned earlier, facts level are that the students learn isolated facts from the reality. So the teacher could propose to conduct a field trip to a polluted river and ask them to shut down their observations or show pictures of or film on polluted rivers in contrast with clear rivers, and ask them to write down what they see. So you may notice that on this level, it's more of the fact where the students or the learners observe. Now let's move forward with the concept level. On the concept level, you could use several pivotal questions such as what happens when water gets polluted, what causes water pollution, and how does water pollution affects us. And the activities for this particular level would be come up with a comic strip to present how fishes and plants in a polluted river would explain what water pollution is if they could talk. And if polluted river could talk, what would they tell you? Alright, so you may notice that several questions were used in this particular level, and this is actually fragmented and kind of meaningless, but on this particular level, it's actually being organized and analyzed by the students to create a particular concept. Now let's move forward with the evaluation, and you can actually present a meaning, causes, and effect of water pollution by means of a graphic organizer. And on a values level, we could also use several pivotal questions like, in what ways do we contribute to water pollution? Can we say that the root cause of water pollution is our very own indifference? And how can we fight this icy indifference? How can we show care for our rivers and other bodies of water? And what are the possible solutions to the problems on water pollution? If we continue to pollute the rivers, what would happen? Alright, so you may notice that most of the pivotal questions used in this particular level were emotionally related to the emotions of the learners. And so when we touch the hearts of the learners or their emotions, they could actually possibly learn more from a particular subject or from a particular topic. And so the possible activities that are possible for this particular level are probably a small group discussion, where we can divide the class into a group of 5 or 6 and ask them to discuss their answers to the questions given above, and they could also share this to the class. Number 2, they could also conduct a research on the contributory factors to the river pollution in the area and come up with a project on anti-pollutions. So just a quick recap to what we have discussed in this particular chapter. We discussed about the ITS, or the Integrated Teaching Strategy, and of course we discussed about the three-level strategy, which are the facts, the concept, and the values. Now let's move forward with the second chapter to be discussed by my co-presenter.
Good day, everyone. So today we will be discussing Chapter 2, Integrated Teaching Multiple Intelligence-Based Instructional Strategies. So a teaching strategy is integrated when it is permitted by the concept of multiple intelligence and varied learning styles of the learners. So we all know that nowadays each of us possess one or two intelligences, and our learners have varied learning styles, wherein a teaching strategy is integrated in a teaching industry. And we used to think of intelligence in terms of linguistic and logical mathematical aspects only. But with Garnier's multiple intelligences, we are introduced to 6 more intelligences. So what are those? So we have here the bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So when we say bodily kinesthetic intelligence, that person has the ability to control one body movement and also can handle objects skillfully. So example of that, if that person can dance, so he or she is dancer. And then the second one, we have here the spatial intelligence. So what do we mean by this? If we can say that person has spatial intelligence if the person has the capacity to think in images and pictures to visualize accurately and abstractly. So example of that is if the person is good in drawing, painting. So those are the example. And then we have here musical intelligence. So we can say that person has musical intelligence if the person has the capacity to produce or have the ability to produce and appreciate rhythm, pitch, and timbre. So example, if the person can sing a song and he or she can write a song. And then the fourth one, we have here the interpersonal intelligence. So what do we mean by this? When we say interpersonal intelligence, that person has the capacity to be self-aware and in tune with inner feelings, beliefs, values, and thinking process. And then the fifth one, interpersonal intelligence. So when we say interpersonal intelligence, that person has the capacity to detect and respond appropriately to the moods, motivations, and desire of others. And then the sixth one, that would be naturalist intelligence. So when we say naturalist intelligence, that person has the ability to recognize and categorize plants, animals, and other objects in nature. So since you know already the multiple intelligences introduced by Howard Gardner, for you to give a clear understanding of those multiple intelligences, let's move on to the figure 4. We have here the intelligence as disposition. So the first one here, that would be verbal linguistic intelligence. So when we say verbal linguistic intelligence, that person has well-developed verbal skills, and it is sensitivity to sounds, meanings, structures, and style of language, and inclination to speaking, writing, listening, and reading. So those are the skills of a person that has verbal linguistic intelligence. So they can speak effectively like the teacher, a religious leader, a politician. And also they can write effectively like the poet and journalist, novelist, copywriter, and editor. And then the second one, logical mathematical intelligence. So when we say logical mathematical intelligence, so that person has the ability to conceptually and abstractly I mean, that person has the ability to think conceptually and abstractly, and capacity to discern logical or numerical patterns. So they are sensitivity to patterns, numbers, and numerical data, causes and effects, objective and quantitative reasoning. And it is inclination to finding patterns, making calculations, forming and testing hypotheses using scientific method, deductive and inductive reasoning. So those are the skills, and if they have those skills, they can work effectively with numbers, like the accountant, the statistician, the economist, and they can also reason effectively like the engineer, the scientist, the computer programmer. And then we have your spatial intelligence. So those persons are sensitivity to color, shape, visual patterns, symmetry, lines, images, and it is inclination to represent the ideas visually, creating mental images, noticing visual details, drawing, and sketching. So those are the skills, and they have the ability to create visually, like the artist, the photographer, the engineer, and the decorator. And they can also visualize accurately, like the tour guide and scout and ranger. And then we have your musical intelligence. So musical intelligence is sensitivity to low beat, tempo, melody, pitch, or sound. And it is inclination to listening, singing, playing an instrument. So they have the ability to create music, like the songwriter, the composer, the musician, the conductor, and they can analyze music. So it is what we call music critic. And then we have your interpersonal intelligence. So those persons is sensitivity to body language, moods, voice, or feelings. And it is inclination to noticing and responding to the other feelings and personalities. They have the ability to work with people like the administrators, the managers, the consultants, the teachers, and also they can help people identity and overcome problems like the therapist psychology. And then we have your interpersonal intelligence. So those person is sensitivity to one's own strength, weaknesses, goals, and desires. And it is inclination to setting goals, assessing personal abilities and liabilities, monitoring one's own thinking. So they have the ability to meditate, reflect, exhibit self-discipline, maintain composure, and get the most out of oneself. And then we have here the last one, naturalist intelligence. So when we say naturalist intelligence, they are sensitivity to natural objects, plants, animals, naturally appearing patterns, ecological issues. And it is inclination to identifying and classifying living things and natural objects. So they are good with that. So they can, or they have the ability to analyze ecological and natural situations and data. So example of that is ecologists, the rangers, and if the person has naturalist intelligence, they can learn from living things like the zoologists, the botanists, the veterinarian, and also they can work in natural setting like the hunter and the scout. So that's it for my discussion, hoping that you've learned something. So let us move on to the next presenter. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I'm Yomi, your reporter for today. I'm going to discuss the topic about 4 learning styles of Silver and Hanson. But before I start, I will first introduce who Harvey Silver is. Harvey Silver is the president of Silver Strong and Associates and Thoughtful Education Press. He was named one of the 100 most influential teachers in their country. Silver is the author of several educational bestsellers, including So Each May Learn, Integrating Learning Styles and Multiple Intelligences, and Teaching Styles and Strategies. In a book, So Each May Learn, Silver combined Jungian personality and learning styles and Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Silver and Hanson connected these styles to Gardner's multiple intelligence in a three-steps process. First, they split each intelligence in four ways, defining a structure of concern for each intelligent by identifying the mastery, understanding, self-expressive, and interpersonal aspect of each. They then looked at Jungian categorizations of careers and listed job categories that drew heavily upon different aspects of each intelligence. They give the examples of verbal linguistic mastery, journalist, technical writer, understanding, lawyer, academic, self-expression, copywriter, novelist, and intrapersonal aspect, salesperson, counselor. Finally, they listed the tasks associated with these professions to come up with four categories of activities for each intelligence. Silver combines these two frameworks to create tools for lesson planning. From the Jungian perspective, they cross the perceiving, sensing, intuition, and judging, thinking, feeling dimensions to produce four learning styles. So, what are the four learning styles? Four learning styles of Silver and Hanson's are the sensing thinking, sensing feeling, intuitive thinking, intuitive feeling. The following learning styles can be found in every person in varying degrees. Most people tend to prefer one or two over the others. In strengthening the learning styles we are weak in will make us better learners in the long run. Let me discuss what are the four learning styles. The first one is the sensing, the mastery style. Learner absorbs information concretely, processes information sequentially in a step-by-step manner, and judges the value of learning in terms of its clarity and practicality. The second one is the intuitive thinking. The understanding style learner focuses more on ideas and abstractions learned through a process of questioning, reasoning, and testing, and evaluates learning by standards of logic and the use of evidence. The third one is the intuitive feeling. The self-expressive style learner looks for images implied in learning, uses feeling and emotions to construct new ideas and products, and judges the learning process according to its originality, aesthetics, and capacity to surprise or delight. The last one is the sensing feeling. The interpersonal style learner, one like the mastery learner, focuses on concrete, palpable information, but prefers to learn socially and judges learning in terms of its potential use in helping others. Learning styles are not fixed throughout life but develop as a person learns and grows. To understand Silver's learning style profile, a brief introduction is necessary. We perceive the world either by our five senses or by intuition, which you may consider sixth sense, or by a combination of both, which is the ideal. But some take the world more through their senses than with their intuition. Others perceive the world more by intuition and less by five senses. The authors then expand upon the different learning styles at length. An expansion of the styles given as disposition follows below. The mastery style, sensing thinking, want to learn practical information and procedures. The sensitivity may experience difficulty when learning becomes too abstract or when faced with open-ended questions. Their inclination learn best when instruction is focused on modeling new skills, practicing and feedback session. Ability to when they like drills, lectures, demonstrations, and practice. The second disposition, understanding style, want to use debate and inquiry to investigate ideas. Sensitivity may experience difficulty when there is strong focus on the social environment of the classroom. Example, cooperative learning. Inclination to learn best when they are challenged to think and explain their ideas. And ability to, they like reading, debate, research projects, independent study, making cases or arguments, and asking why. The third disposition is the self-expressive style. They want to use their imaginations to explore their ideas. Sensitivity may experience difficulty when instruction focuses on drills, practice, and rote problem solving. Inclination learn best when they are invited to express themselves in unique and original ways. Ability to, they like creative and artistic activities, open-ended and non-routine problems, generating possibilities and alternatives and asking what if. The last disposition is the interpersonal style. Want to learn about things that affect people's lives. Sensitive to may experience difficulty when instruction focus on independent seat works or when learning lack real-world application. Inclination learn best when their teacher pays attention to their successes and struggles. Ability to, they like group experiences, discussions, cooperative learning activity, role-playing, and personal attention. Students will usually possess a combination of learning styles. By taking a simple learning style inventory, a student can become aware of just what his or her learning style is. To give every student the opportunity to learn the lesson appropriate to his dominant intelligence and learning style, it is best that we have a pool of learning activities and techniques at our disposal. The table on the next slide can be a help. The first intelligence is the verbal linguistic. These students prefer using both words in speech and writing. Example of this is telling a story to the class or participating in the debate. The next one is logical mathematical. These students prefer using logic, reasoning, and system. Example, designing alphabet and numeric codes, conducting experiments to demonstrate science concepts. Visual spatial. These students prefer using pictures, images, and spatial understanding. Example, using maps to study geographical location, discussed in class, or taking photographs for assignments. The next one is the body kinesthetic. These students prefer using your body, hands, and sense of touch. Example of this is creating costumes for role-playing, skits, or simulations. Another one is the performing skits or acting out scenes from books or key historical events. Next is the musical. These students prefer using sounds and music. Example, writing their own songs and music about content area topics, and putting original poems to music and then performing them for the class. Next one is the interpersonal. These students prefer to learn in groups or with other people. Example, working in cooperative groups to design and complete projects, and interviewing people with knowledge about content area topics such as a veteran to learn about World War II. The next intelligence is the intrapersonal. These students prefer to work alone and use self-study. Examples, making a scrapbook for their poems, papers, and reflections, writing goals for the future and planning ways to achieve them. The last intelligence is the naturalist. These students who have the strengths in intelligence related to environment and other species. For example, organizing or participating in park or playground cleanups, recycling drives and beautification projects, caring for classroom plants. Knowing what each of the students' learning styles is will help the classroom teacher to plan lessons that will reach the entire class, not just a few. When creating a lessons for the classroom, it is important to try to tailor your lessons to include as many different learning styles as possible. Many of the activities described in the multiple intelligence sections are applicable here. That would be all. Thank you.
So, good morning, classmates. My report is about the style summary. There are 4 learning styles introduced by Harvey Silver and Hanson. The first one is the sensing thinking or mastery learner. The second one is the sensing feeling or interpersonal style. And then the third one is intuitive thinking or understanding style. And the fourth one is intuitive feeling or self-expressive style. The sensing thinking or mastery learner can be characterized as realistic, practical, and matter-of-fact. This type of learner is efficient and result-oriented. He prepares action towards and involvement to theory. He has a high energy level for doing things which are pragmatic, logical, and useful. The sensing thinking or mastery learner prepares to learn by seeing tangible result, practicing what he has learned, following direction, one step at a time, being active rather than passive, knowing exactly what is expected of her, how will the task must be done, and why. Learn best from drill, demonstration, practice, and hands-on experience. And the sensing thinking or mastery learner likes doing things that have immediate practical use, being acknowledged for thoroughness and detail, praise for prompt and complete work, immediate feedback or rewards and privileges. Dislikes completing tasks for which there are no practical use, activities that require imagination and intuition, activities with complex direction, open-ended activities without closure on payoff, activities that focus on feeling or other intangible result. So the second one is the sensing feeling learner or interpersonal learner can be characterized as sociable, friendly, and interpersonally oriented. This type of learner is very sensitive to people's feelings, his own and others. He prefers to learn about things that directly affect people's lives rather than impersonal facts or theories. So the sensing feeling or the interpersonal learner prepares to learn by receiving personal attention and encouragement from his teacher, being part of a team or collaboration with other students, activities that help her learn about herself and how she feels about things. So, learn best from group experience and projects, loving attention, personal expression and personal encounters, role playing. And then the sensing feeling or interpersonal learner likes receiving personal attention and encouragement, opportunities to help all in class, personal feedback, sharing personal feelings and experience with others, dislikes, long period of working alone silently, emphasis on factual details, highly competitive games where someone loses, detailed and demanding routines. So the third one is the intuitive thinking or understanding learner can be characterized as theoretical, intellectual, and knowledge-oriented. This type of learner prepares to be challenged intellectually and to think things through for himself. The intuitive thinker is curious about ideas, has tolerance for theory, a taste for complex problem, and concern for long-range consequences. The intuitive thinking or the understanding learner prepares to learn by studying about ideas and how things are related, planning and carrying out a project of his own making and interest, arguing or debating a point based on logical analysis, problem solving that requires collecting, organizing, and evaluating data. Learn best from lectures, reading, logical discussion, and debates. The intuitive thinking or understanding learner likes time to plan and organize her work, working independently or with intuitive, working with ideas and things that challenge him to think, to explore, to master. So dislikes routine or rote assignments, memorization, concern for details, rigid route, and predetermined procedures. So the part one is the intuitive feeling or self-expressive learner can be characterized as a curious, insightful, and imaginative. The intuitive feeler is one who dares to dream, is committed to his values, is open to alternative, and is constantly searching for new and unusual ways to express himself. The intuitive feeling or self-expressive learner prepares to learn by being creative and using his imagination, planning and organizing her work in an all creative ways, working on a number of things at one time, searching for alternative solutions to problem beyond those normally considered, discussing real problems and looking for real solution. Learn best from creative and artistic activities, open-ended discussion of personal and social values, activities that enlighten and enhance myths, human achievements, drama, etc. And then likes, contemplation, being able to learn through discovery, opportunity to plan and pursue his own interest, recognition for personal insights and discoveries, dislikes, too much attention to detail, facts memorization, role learning, task with predetermined correct answer, detailed and demanding routines.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. So today, I will discuss the figure 8 in collecting the classroom examples. So in figure 8, it shows the four intelligences, which are the mastery, interpersonal, understanding, and self-expressive. Okay, so I will discuss the first one, which is the mastery. So it was stated here in the book, the examples of the classroom activities. So the first one is the direct instruction, drill and repetition, demonstrations, competitions, and also the activities that focused on organizing and managing information, practicing skill, observing, describing, memorizing, and categorizing. So mastery, it is somehow included in the interpersonal intelligences. So some teachers recommend providing students with common examples of this mastery learning that occurs in their daily lives. So example of this is the learning to walk, drive, or tie their shoes for the children. So as a future educator, we need to select skills that is relevant to our learners. So how do we improve this mastery in the classroom? Of course, by doing repetitions and demonstrations. So the students who mastered in the unit, they were going to proceed in the enrichment activities. However, the students who didn't achieve their goals, they were going to provide other additional opportunities in order to practice their skills. The second one is the interpersonal skills, which involve the experience. So in the classroom activities, we have team games, learning circles, role-playing, group investigation, peer tutoring, and personal sharing. Activities that focused on describing feelings, emphasizing, responding, and valuing. So what is interpersonal skills? So it is the ability how we interact with people, and more examples of interpersonal skills is comforting people, awareness to others, clear communication skills, and how we collaborate with others, and also working with teams. So, as a future educator, how do we improve our interpersonal skills? Of course, by accepting the opinion of others, practice the active listening, and learn how we control our emotions. So, it is important for the students to have these interpersonal skills because it helps them connect with people. Okay, so the third one is understanding, which is suit for the verbal linguistic intelligence. So it includes the following: inquiry, concept formation, debate, problem solving, independent study, essays, and logic problems. And of course, the activities that focused on classifying and analyzing, using evidence and applying, comparing and contrasting, and the last one is evaluating. So what is the understanding skills? So it implies the ability and the disposition with respect to an object of knowledge that what it is sufficient to support this intelligent behavior. So it is somehow related to learning concepts. So how do we improve our understanding skills? Of course, by taking good notes, establish your learning styles, be on time, and ask questions. So don't be afraid to ask questions if there are some topics that you didn't clearly understand. So it's involved our critical thinking on how you will solve the problem and the logic situations. How you will formulate our essays if you didn't understand the topic itself. Okay, so the last one is the self-expressive or the explore and produce. So it is included in the spatial intelligence, which includes the following. So the first one is the divergent thinking, metaphors, creative art activities, imagining, open-ended discussion, imagery, and creative problem solving. And the activities that focused on hypothesizing and synthesizing, symbolizing and creating, metaphorical expression, and the last is the self-expression. So, what do you mean by self-expressive? So, self-expressive, it is the expressions of one's personality, feelings, or ideas through the art, speech, or art. So, example of this is sharing details about your lives. It tests your creativity and imaginary thinking. So, self-expressive, it is mostly focused on how you will express yourself, your emotions, without directly telling them what you feel. So, like for example, if you were sad, you can draw or create something that tells your viewer that you were sad. You can draw some arts that tells to the viewer that you were sad without directly telling them. So they can easily or exactly get your emotions by showing them your creativity skills.